We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. There was once a young man who kept saying, "Tomorrow I will begin. Tomorrow I will change. Tomorrow I will pray, study, work harder, forgive, build, and become the man I was born to be." But tomorrow kept moving. It was always ahead of him, always promising, always escaping. And one day he looked around and realized something terrifying. His life had become a collection of postponed decisions. That is the quiet tragedy of many people. Not failure in one dramatic moment, not one terrible mistake, but the slow death of delay. They do not collapse because they are weak. They collapse because they keep living somewhere else, in the past, in regret, in old pain, in broken memories, in dreams they keep postponing. They are physically present, but mentally absent. And that is why your life does not begin when your circumstances improve. Your life begins when your mind returns to the present. Listen carefully. Most people are not defeated by what happened to them. They are defeated by the fact that they never truly returned to life after what happened. They kept carrying yesterday into today like a heavy chain. They kept rehearsing old wounds. They kept talking about what they lost, what they missed, what they should have done, what someone else did to them. And while they were looking backward, their future quietly passed them by. But the present moment is not small. It is sacred. It is where decision becomes destiny. It is where wisdom becomes action. It is where faith becomes movement. It is where the person you want to become is waiting for you to stand up and meet him. That is why this message matters. Because you cannot heal the past by living in it. You cannot build the future by postponing your life. And you cannot become who you were designed to be while sitting in the ashes of what was. So today, this speech is not about pretending the past never happened. It is about refusing to be imprisoned by it. It is about learning to rise, to return, to re-enter the present with courage, clarity, and purpose. This is the meaning of get up to now. Get up from regret. Get up from fear. Get up from delay. Get up from the version of yourself that has been sleeping and come fully into now, because now is where your power lives. The introduction ended with a powerful truth. Now is where your power lives. And if that is true, then the first battle of your life is not against your enemies, your environment, or your circumstances. The first battle is against everything that keeps dragging your mind backward. Because many people are not weak in talent. They are weak in release. They have been hurt, disappointed, abandoned, betrayed, overlooked, and misunderstood. And after that pain, something dangerous happens. They stop visiting the past and start living there. They carry old conversations in their head. They replay old failures in their heart. They keep returning to what broke them, as if pain becomes smaller by being remembered again and again. But pain does not shrink when it is rehearsed. It grows roots. It becomes identity. It becomes prison. That is why yesterday is so dangerous when you refuse to learn from it and instead choose to live inside it. I want you to picture a man standing at the edge of a road, but he keeps looking over his shoulder. He sees the dust of where he came from, and he mistakes that dust for direction. He wants a new life, but he keeps facing the old one. He wants peace, but he keeps feeding the wound. He wants growth, but he keeps protecting the excuse. That is how people stay stuck for years. Not because they cannot move, but because they keep negotiating with what should have been left behind. And this is exactly why get up now is true. Because sometimes the thing that is holding you back is not what happened to you. It is the fact that you never stood up after it happened. There are people who survived heartbreak but never recovered their trust. They survived failure but never recovered their courage. They survived criticism but never recovered their voice. They survived a painful season but they did not rise out of it. They stayed emotionally buried in the same place where the wound was born. And when a person lives too long in memory, he forgets how to live. Impossibility. History is full of people who refuse to let yesterday write the final sentence. Abraham Lincoln lost elections, lost businesses, and knew deep disappointment, yet he did not permit failure to define him. His life teaches us something profound. A setback is only powerful if you promote it from event to identity. Lincoln did not become great because his life was easy. He became great because his spirit refused to stop at the failure. That is the discipline many people need today. Not the discipline to pretend the pain never came, but the discipline to refuse the pain, the throne. Viktor Frankl carried this truth deeper than most. He showed the world that even in the harshest conditions, a human being can still choose meaning. That means your past can touch your life, but it does not have to control your mind. You may not always control what happened, but you can control what you become because of it. That is freedom. That is strength. And that is why Get Up Now cannot be ignored. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." That is not just a beautiful sentence, it is a challenge. It says the life you are waiting for is not hidden in yesterday, and it is not trapped in tomorrow. It is waiting in the quality of your inner life right now. So let me speak directly to the person listening who has been carrying old grief like a permanent name tag. You are not the mistake. You are not the rejection. You are not the season that tried to break you. You are not the failure that embarrassed you. You are not the door that closed. You are not the opportunity that passed. Those things may have happened to you, but they are not allowed to become you. And here is the practical truth. If you keep telling the story of what hurt you without choosing what heals you, then the story becomes a cage. But if you begin to use your memory as a teacher, then yesterday becomes wisdom. The difference is not in the event. The difference is in the response. That is why the strong person is not the one who feels nothing. The strong person is the one who decides, "I will not live bowed down to what should have ended." He gets up. She gets up. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 small decisions. Getting up means deleting the lie. Getting up means closing the chapter that keeps reopening itself in your mind. Getting up means refusing to let an old wound dictate a new future. Seneca warned us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about that. So many people are not even being defeated by the present, they are being defeated by the memory of the past. They imagine what might happen because of what already happened. They fear future pain because they never fully escaped previous pain. That is why the prison of yesterday is so effective. It makes fear feel reasonable, but your life was not meant to be managed by fear. It was meant to be governed by truth. And the truth is this: the past can instruct you, but it cannot own you. The past can refine you, but it cannot confine you. The past can mark you, but it cannot master you, unless you keep giving it authority. So when we say, "Get up now," we are not speaking lightly. We are calling for a return to life, a return to responsibility, a return to self-respect, a return to the present moment where growth actually begins. Because now is not a small word. Now is the doorway of destiny. And once you understand that yesterday is a prison only if you keep living in it, the next question becomes unavoidable. How do you stop merely surviving the present and start using it with purpose? That is where the next chapter begins. From the last chapter, one truth stood above everything else. Yesterday is a prison only if you keep living in it. And once that truth settles into your heart, the next question becomes urgent. If you are no longer meant to live bowed down to the past, then how are you meant to live today? That is where the real battle begins, because it is one thing to understand that the past should not own you. It is another thing to learn how to stand upright in the present and use this moment with wisdom. Most people underestimate the present. They treat it like a hallway between yesterday and tomorrow. They rush through it, they ignore it, they waste it. But the present is not a waiting room. It is the workshop of destiny. It is where habits are formed, where character is built, where faith becomes action, and where the future receives its shape. A young man once walked into a workshop and watched an old carpenter shaping a piece of wood. The carpenter did not appear in a hurry. He measured, he cut, he adjusted, he sanded. He looked at the grain before making a move. The young man asked, "Why are you so careful with this one piece?" The carpenter replied, because the beauty of the finished work is determined by what I do with this moment. That is how life works. The finished result of your future is being shaped by your attention to now. And that is why "get up now" is not merely a motivational phrase. It is a law of life, because what you do in the present is what the future will remember. Many people are waiting for the perfect season to begin. They wait for more confidence, more money, more support, more clarity, more time. But life does not usually reward waiting. Life rewards movement. Jim Rohn taught that your life changes when you change, and change always begins with a decision. Not a dream, not a wish, a decision. A decision to stop negotiating with delay. A decision to stop saying someday. A decision to treat this day as sacred. Thomas Edison is one of the clearest examples of this principle. He did not create history by worshiping an idea. He created history by working the idea into reality through effort, patience, and persistence. He understood something that many people never learn. The present is powerful because it is the only place where effort can become evidence. You cannot build in memory. You cannot build in fantasy. You build in now. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote constantly about discipline, self-mastery, and the responsibility of the mind. He knew that a person may not control every event, but he can govern his response. That is where dignity lives. That is where leadership begins. That is where peace is protected. So when life becomes loud, the wise person does not panic. He returns to the present and asks, "What is required of me now?" That question changes everything, because the present has a hidden power. It is the only place where you can choose differently. Yesterday cannot be edited, but now can be redeemed. Yesterday cannot be repaired, but now can be used. Yesterday cannot be relived, but now can become a seed for something new. This is exactly why "get up now" is true. It is not asking you to erase your history. It is asking you to stop letting history dictate your next move. There is a story of a man who had lost almost everything. His confidence was damaged, his relationships were strained, his future felt uncertain, and his inner voice had become harsh. One day he stood in front of a mirror and realized he was no longer living his life. He was only reacting to it. That moment did not fix everything instantly, but it changed his direction. He started reading again, praying again, working again, thinking again. The miracle was not that his life became easy. The miracle was that he stopped sleeping inside his own potential. That is what the present can do for you. It can wake you up. And when you wake up, you begin to see that every day contains a choice. Will I repeat my weakness, or will I practice my strength? Will I drift, or will I direct my life? Will I let my mind wander back to old pain, or will I anchor it in purpose? The present is where those questions are answered, not by words, but by actions. Seneca said that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. That means much of the anxiety people carry is not about what is happening now, but about what they keep rehearsing in their mind. They drag yesterday into today, then they imagine tomorrow through the lens of yesterday, and then they wonder why their spirit feels heavy. But a person who learns to stand fully in the present begins to breathe again. He begins to think clearly. He begins to move with intention. He begins to live like a man who believes his life still has value. So here is the practical lesson. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what is in front of you. If you are confused, take one clear step. If you are afraid, take one brave step. If you are tired, take one honest step. Great lives are not built by dramatic moments alone. They are built by repeated obedience to what is right now. And this is where emotional healing becomes real, because many people think healing means forgetting. It does not. Healing means the wound no longer controls the direction of your life. Healing means your past can still be remembered without being relived. Healing means you can speak about what broke you without becoming broken again. That is the maturity of a strong soul. So this is why "get up now" matters. It means wake up to the power already inside your current moment. It means stop treating today like a bridge and start treating it like an opportunity. It means stop waiting for life to begin and realize that life has already begun and it is asking for your attention, your courage, and your obedience. And once you understand the power hidden in the present, the next question becomes even deeper. Why are you here, and what is this moment really for? Because the present is powerful, but without purpose, power can still be wasted. That is where the next chapter must lead us. From the last chapter, one truth became clear. The present is the workshop of destiny. But a workshop without a design can still become a place of confusion. A person can be active and still be empty, busy and still lost, moving and still not growing. That is why the next question matters so deeply. What is this moment for? Because when you understand the power of the present, you must also understand the reason for the present. There is a story of a young man who spent years trying to find himself. He changed plans, changed friends, changed goals, changed directions. He chased excitement, then achievement, then attention. But no matter how much he gained, he still felt unfinished. One day, an older man asked him a simple question. Do you know why you were born, or are you only guessing at it? That question pierced him because he had mistaken movement for meaning. He was alive, but not aligned. That is the condition of many people today. They wake up, they work, they scroll, they survive, they repeat, but they do not feel deeply rooted. And that is because purpose gives the present its true value. Without purpose, time becomes noise. With purpose, time becomes a mission. This is exactly why Get Up Now is not just about urgency. It is about alignment. A person with purpose does not wake up asking, how can I entertain myself today? He wakes up asking, what am I here to build, to heal, to protect, to serve, to become? That question changes the entire atmosphere of a life. Napoleon Hill understood this when he emphasized that a definite chief aim is the beginning of all achievement. In other words, a life without direction becomes scattered, but a life with purpose becomes powerful. You stop pouring your energy into every distraction because you finally know where your strength belongs. Think of George Washington, who did not lead because he was the loudest man in the room, but because he understood responsibility. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who carried not just a position, but a purpose larger than his own comfort. History honors those who knew they were sent, not merely those who succeeded. That is one of the great secrets of life. Purpose outlives comfort. Comfort asks, what is easiest? Purpose asks, what is necessary? Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, reminded himself constantly to stay disciplined, humble, and useful. He understood that power without purpose becomes vanity. That is true in governments, in families, in businesses, and in personal life. A man can have opportunity, but if he has no purpose, he will waste it. A woman can have talent, but if she has no purpose, she will scatter it. But when purpose is discovered, the ordinary becomes sacred. This is where the wisdom of C.S. Lewis becomes so powerful. He taught that human beings are not merely made for comfort, but for a far greater glory. That means your discomfort may be part of your calling. Your pressure may be part of your preparation. Your struggle may be shaping the exact character you need to carry your assignment. So when life feels heavy, do not immediately assume life is against you. Sometimes life is training you for significance. And that is why the principle behind Get Up Now cannot be ignored. Because if you only wake up to survive, you will live small. But if you wake up to serve a purpose, you will live with fire. Purpose changes the way you handle your morning. Purpose changes the way you speak to people. Purpose changes the way you respond to disappointment. A person with purpose does not collapse every time he is misunderstood, because he knows who he is. He does not need constant applause, because meaning has already settled his soul. That is maturity. That is strength. That is leadership. There are moments when the world tries to reduce you to your circumstances, but purpose reminds you that your life is bigger than the current season. A seed does not look powerful underground, but it is doing the most important work of its life. In the same way, you may not look impressive in your hidden season, but purpose is still forming you. And that is why Get Up Now must become more than a thought. It must become a way of living. So here is the practical truth. Stop asking only, what do I feel like doing? Start asking, what was I made for? Stop living only for relief. Start living for responsibility. Start giving your gifts a direction. Start assigning meaning to your pain. Start letting purpose guide your habits, your words, your relationships, and your time. Because when purpose is absent, even a good day can feel empty. But when purpose is present, even a difficult day can feel meaningful. And maybe that is what some hearts need to hear right now. Your life is not random, your struggle is not wasted, and your present moment is not meaningless. You are here for more than survival. You are here for contribution. You are here for impact. You are here for leadership. You are here to become something that blesses others. So this is why Get Up Now matters. It means rise into purpose, rise into responsibility, rise into the reason your life has weight. It means stop drifting through the present and start using it with intention. And once a person understands that purpose gives the present meaning, the next step becomes unavoidable. Purpose must become visible in action. Because knowing why you are here is powerful, but living like you believe it is where transformation truly begins. That is where the next chapter carries us. From the last chapter, one truth became impossible to ignore. Purpose gives the present meaning, but meaning alone is not enough. A man can know his purpose and still live beneath it. A woman can understand her calling and still delay her obedience. A person can have clarity in the mind and inactivity in the life. And that is where the final test begins. Will you merely admire your purpose, or will you embody it? Because purpose was never meant to be a decoration for your thoughts. It was meant to become direction for your life. There is a story of a young man who knew exactly what kind of future he wanted. He spoke about it with passion. He described it with confidence. He even inspired other people with his words. But years passed and nothing changed. One day, an old mentor looked at him and said, "You have the language of a builder, but not the habits of one." Those words hit him hard because he realized he had mistaken vision for progress. He had talked about the house, but he had never laid the bricks. That is what happens when purpose remains unacted upon. It becomes a beautiful idea with no visible evidence. And that is why Get Up Now must now move from thought to behavior. The man who knows his purpose but never rises in discipline is like a musician who owns an instrument but never plays it. The instrument has value, but it has not been used. The gift has beauty, but it has not been expressed. The same is true of your life. Purpose does not become powerful just because you understand it. Purpose becomes powerful when you live it. Theodore Roosevelt understood this deeply. He admired action, courage, and responsibility. He knew that the world belongs not to the critic, but to the one who steps into the arena. That is a powerful truth for every generation. There is a difference between talking about strength and developing strength. There is a difference between admiring leadership and becoming a leader. There is a difference between being informed and being transformed. So this is exactly why Get Up Now is true. It is not a slogan for emotional excitement. It is a command for disciplined action. Think of Abraham Lincoln again. His greatness was not built in one speech, one season, or one decision. It was built through a long obedience to purpose. He kept rising into responsibility even when his world was uncertain. That is what makes history respect a life. Not perfect conditions, but faithful movement. Marcus Aurelius would say, in effect, that a person should do the work in front of him with full integrity. That principle matters because life is not changed by grand declarations alone. It is changed by repeated faithfulness. Get up now means answer the call now. Study now. Forgive now. Improve now. Serve now. Build now. Pray now. Speak now. Stand now. A purpose delayed becomes a destiny weakened, and this is where many people secretly struggle. They feel the weight of their assignment, but they also feel the pull of comfort. They know what they should do, but they keep returning to what is easy. They know what must change, but they keep waiting for motivation to appear like weather. But motivation is unreliable, discipline is dependable, and purpose must be carried by discipline if it is going to become a life. Napoleon Hill understood that achievement is not built on desire alone. It is built on organized effort. In other words, wanting something is not enough. You must structure your life around it. If your purpose matters, your habits must change. If your calling matters, your schedule must change. If your future matters, your environment must change. That is the practical power of get up now. A seed has purpose, but a seed must go into the soil before it can reveal its design. That soil looks dark, it looks hidden, it looks uneventful, but in that hidden place, life is taking shape. Some of you are in a hidden season right now. You do not feel famous, you do not feel fully seen, you may not even feel fully understood, but that does not mean nothing is happening. It may be the exact season where purpose is building your character in private before it blesses people in public. C.S. Lewis taught that we are being prepared for a glory greater than comfort. That means your pressure is not always punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Your resistance may be training the part of you that will need to carry greater responsibility. So when life feels hard, do not always ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Sometimes the better question is, what is this shaping in me? That is the wisdom of moving in purpose. You stop seeing hardship as meaningless. You begin to see it as material. Material for leadership, material for character, material for wisdom, material for resilience. So here is the practical truth. Stop waiting for the perfect emotion before you obey the right principle. Rise anyway, begin anyway, continue anyway, not because it is easy, but because it is right. That is how destiny is formed. That is how confidence grows. That is how leaders are made. A leader is not someone who never feels pressure. A leader is someone who chooses responsibility over retreat. And maybe this is the deepest encouragement of all. Your life is still in motion because your purpose is still alive. You are not finished. You are not disqualified. You are not too late. You are simply being invited to rise more fully into who you are meant to be. So this is why get up now matters. It means rise with purpose, rise with discipline, rise with responsibility, rise with courage. It means stop admiring the life you were meant to live and start building it with your own hands. And now the great journey reaches its final turning. Because once a person learns to get up from the past, stand in the present, and live by purpose, there is only one thing left: to see the whole message clearly and carry it home. That is where the conclusion begins, and it is where the truth becomes unforgettable.